Good morning, everyone. This is Miss T. I hope everyone had a good evening, slept well. Woke up this morning, had a little time to spend with the Lord, and are preparing for your day, and that your day is good. Today I want to discuss, since it's in the news, it's one of the biggest stories in the news, I'm going to discuss Charles Kirk. Like I had said before, I didn't even know who he was before the incident happened, and I didn't go and read anything about him purposely, because while they were telling his story, or while they were letting us know what happened, I didn't want to be tainted. I wanted to make sure I had a clear understanding, because like I said, no one has the right to take anyone's life, not even if whatever they believe in is controversial or the person does not agree with them. They do not have the right to do that. But everyone kept telling me, well, he's racist. He is one of Donald Trump's friends, because they keep saying Donald Trump is racist. What I find humorous is that if you find a few minority people who say that Donald Trump isn't racist, they come up with the reasons that they come up with that he's not racist are ridiculous. If you wanted to defend him and say he's not racist because he's passing a bill that black children are going to be able to have a chartered school that's going to teach African American history and fine arts, and okay, fine. I would agree with, I wouldn't go as far to say what his reasoning was, but I would agree that that would be something good in the interest of black people or minorities. But this person said Donald Trump is not racist because he pardoned NBA YoungBoy. I'm not even going to give that any further conversation. I'm just leave it right there. So the person, they said, well, you need to go look him up, because they want, if one black person believes something, we should all believe the same thing, is what is kind of put out it's not spoken, but it's kind of out there. And I believe in righteousness. I believe in fairness. I believe in equality. I believe in God and his, what is his word and what is best for what's coming from his word. So I decided to go ahead and look and see what he really was standing for. Now, first of all, he's a Protestant. His wife is Catholic, but he's not. And I think that would cause a little bit of controversy in their marriage, because that's being unequally yoked. You have two different religions and two different ways of serving the Lord. So if he says that's not right, but anyways, I'm going to read some things, and then I'm going to tell you what I think that It's not, it doesn't have to be true. This is just my observation and my opinion. So he was asked, I don't know if he was asked this question or he just um, gave this, put this out there on his own, but he said that black people uh, did better in the 1940s. And it was like 1940s. Why did he pick that year? What happened in the 1940s that we were so, everything was so great for us? What was happening then? Well, we were still in Jim Crow. We were just beginning to fight for our rights. He said that the crime was low. Okay, the crime wasn't low against black people. There were lynchings and police brutality and people being harmed just walking down the street. So I don't know if his choice of words were saying there was less crime because we were being controlled. We were being, what's the word? Intimidated. We were being harassed to the point where people were afraid. So if he's saying that there was less crime, that way I assume he's talking about less crime by black people. In the 1940s, basically it was no good better for blacks than it was in the 1930s. So I assume that he chose that year. Well, I don't know why he chose that year, because I don't know why he said that black people were the happiest during that year, during the 1940s. And I don't know how many black people he took a poll from that gave him that percentage, since he was born in 1996. I don't know who he spoke to get that result that black people were happy in 1940. Since 1940, there has been an unaliving of a black person every year. Well, more than I just picked a few. It was, I would say, one that stood out or one that was talked about, but there's several. You can't list them all. You can't, we'd be here till whenever. And so in 1940, it was Jeffrey and, I'm sorry, I don't have this. I don't have a light. Just a second. Jeffrey Thornton and I believe this says Elise. Well, I can't read this, but if you look up Jesse Thornton, he's with him. So I don't know if they both were unalive together. In 1950, it was John Derricks or Derricks. 1960 was Emmett Till. 1970 was the Kent State Massacre, where 4 people were unalived and several were hurt. 1980 was Michael Donald. 1990 was 16-year-old, and I'm sorry, Philip Pennell, and in 2000 was George Floyd, and on and on and on. So we have not, since Jim Crow, since slavery, since whatever year that we were in, Black people have still been unalived, mistreated, denied services, denied entrance into places that were deemed not for them. And it's still 2000, every year from 1940, some Black person was unalive due to racial hatred, racial divide, people believing that Black people didn't matter and we could do without them. They weren't important. So what that led me to believe, and like I said, it's all my opinion, when they had decided that they were going to, they had the big ideal that they were going to have slaves. I don't know who was the people who thought of this, and if they had a contract or if they wrote down things. Did they think this all the way through? But it seems like to me the way that we had been treated afterwards and still into this day, that we weren't supposed to stay here, or we weren't supposed to be a part after the country was built, that we weren't supposed to be a part of it. I think that we were to help profit the United States. We were here to help build it, and then somehow removed or controlled the births, kept some around for domestic, but really not wanted here. So if we are still not wanted here, I don't believe we were meant to stay here. But because of when you do bad things, when you do things you shouldn't be doing, sometimes the outcome does not meet what you were intending to do. So, yeah. So there were a couple of speeches that he did, controversial speeches that he did. And I'm going to read a couple of them and then I'm going to tell you. He said that when he gets on an airplane and there's a Black pilot, that he wonders if he's qualified. Now, I do believe that. I truly believe that white people will get on a plane, and if they see a Black pilot, I do think they get nervous. I really do. I do believe that. He also says when he sees a Black woman working in customer service, is it because of her excellent skills or affirmative action? I don't believe that. Sir, you don't go into a department store looking for ties or whatever and wonder if that woman that's helping you got her job because of affirmative action. Maybe you just wanted to throw that in there to make it sound good. Because if that's what you're, then there's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you if you, everywhere you go and there's a minority, that you have to think about what got them there every time. It just really doesn't make any sense to me. But that's what he says. He says that gun violence deaths are needed every year so that we can protect the Second Amendment. And he called it our God-given right. That's not a God-given right. So here you're mixing religion with politics. God says thou shalt not kill. Now, you can talk about situations where what if someone's trying to unalive you, and that's something to talk about when that time comes. But God said thou shalt not kill. So that wasn't a God-given right for the second. That was a man-given right that said you should be able to bear arms. So that's a misquote. But you're so religious. That's why people shouldn't use their religion to try to justify what they think is, what is a good thing or a necessary thing to have happen. So it's ironic that you declared that we needed to have a gun violence death every year. He didn't say how many. He just said a gun violence death every year. And at his rally, I think that was the question that was asked to him. And he said, I think right when he said gun violence, that's when he was shot. And I thought that was, I don't know if that was ironic. I mean, that was a message. It just seemed like a message. So this is what you wanted. You said one has to happen every year in order for us to hold on to our Second Amendment rights, our God-given right to bear arms. And that's what happened. I just hope that what America has done and is continuing to do is put out propaganda, put out things that are made up, just whatever, to try and keep us separated, so that we don't have, because we're not ever going to be at the top. We already know that we might not know the people who are, we might not know the names, the family names of the people who are running the country, but we'll never be there. And so we are still being pushed aside, or being pushed down, and being made to be, like we're the cause of why America is not great anymore. I don't know how that could be. We don't make any laws. We have nothing to do with anything that America chooses to do. We do not get to say that we don't want to go into war. We don't get to say anything. we might hear something that we don't like, and that might be detrimental to our people, but we don't get to, and that's a little bit of our fault too. We don't get to change it. We don't go out and we don't we don't turn up at rallies. We don't show up at debates. We don't get paper. We just don't get involved. And we need to, because like I said, we hear about what's changed and what's going to happen afterwards, because we don't have time to know what's going on in the country or to care what's going on in the country. It's not important. It really has never been important to us, and I guess it's because of certain things that have gone on during out the year after year. We're fighting for something different, and something new comes up every time, so we don't have time to follow everything and see what laws are being changed or what they're trying to implement into our lives. But if we don't take the time, if we don't make a change, if we don't start paying attention and start being a part of what they feel is going on, we're going to have so many laws out there. We're just going to we'll wake up one day and we'll be back on the plantation. I'm just using that as a that won't happen, but I'm just using that as, we need to stop just thinking it's not our problem. We know it's our problem, but we don't get involved because it's like, well, they're not going to listen to us, or our vote doesn't count, and it does. That's what they want you to believe, that it doesn't count. They want you to be non-involved, make politics boring and really like it's not a big deal. Like, you don't want to go through pages and pages of big words that are saying, but that's what they want you to do or feel, because they don't want you to know what's going on. They don't want you to catch on and get involved and try to get these things knocked down before they are even implemented. I know that it just in the last 20 years, we have sat by and just had all kinds of programs and things, and sometimes we were thankful, sometimes we were just all over the place. So what they think is how we can get them to not pay attention what we're doing in the back scenes is we'll give them some money, $1,400, $1,200, whatever, and then that'll take their minds off of the real agenda that we're trying to get through. So when we're being entertained, we're not being educated. First of all, $1,200, $1,400 is not nothing. I'm not saying it's not, at that time people may have needed it for groceries and paying bills, and it probably came at a good time. So I'm not saying that, it wasn't needed. But give me money that I can't attain myself. Wipe out my school debt, my credit. Let everybody start from fresh. Do something that will make a big impact to give minority people a start, so that we can catch up. I'm not saying that they're much, we are, yeah, we've been behind due to certain things, but don't dangle a carrot in front of me and say, this is a good thing, and it's tax free, and while you're spending that money, we're going to open up the borders and let in mass murderers and drug dealers and traffickers just free. We're going to let them walk through the gates and set up a home all over the United States where we're not going to keep track, and they'll do crimes. And then when we find them and find that they're illegal, we'll still let them go. And then we'll pick them up when they do something really, really horrible. I don't know the man who decided that it was his job to stop this Charles Kirk. I don't know anything about him. I don't know what his reasoning was, what his plan was. But it seems like to me, how they say, the FBI was on, they love to pat the FBI on the back. They got that case solved in 31 hours. They were able to apprehend the subject, and who was 240 miles away, and they got him arrested. You got him arrested because his father turned him in. That's how you got him arrested, because it looked like he was going to get away. No one knew who he was. I assume they knew what car he was driving. They never said, maybe they did get his license plate. I don't know. But he was long gone. He was gone. And until his father seen him on the news and said, "That's my son," he was probably on his way to Mexico or wherever, or maybe not. I don't know. It just seems like some people, it's not that serious to make somebody. Okay, so what, harming him, taking him out, what does that do? What did you accomplish? Just the fact that you didn't like what he was saying. But there's thousands of Charles Kirks in the world. You can't get rid of all of them. And it's going to get worse. Social media will turn you into a political monster. And when I mean monster, people will feed you all these things and just get your head wrapped up and make you believe all these things, and then pump you up to be a hero. You're going to be a hero if you do this. And their targeting is mainly young white men. And it's usually those who have gone through a little bit of mental illness, or just some things in their life, and it looks like they're looking for a place to belong, and they get them and tell them that their race is the superior race, and they need to get their race back. We don't need to pollute their race with other races, and they need to stay on top of making America great again. Because I'd like to know what that means. When was America great? Because it might have been. Maybe I wasn't born, Maybe it was great when I was 2 years old. I don't know. But I don't know what they're considering great when we were great. But it's dangerous to feed a empty mind. And what I mean about an empty mind is they read things that they don't even really understand, or that they don't really believe until someone tells them that's what they're supposed to believe. And then they soak up all the information, and then they become dangerous because their thought is they're going to be great. They're going to be known for the good deed that they did. And it always seems to be either taking out a bunch of minorities or political people, or people who make laws and that they don't particularly care for, or they don't like, period. And that makes them heroes, and that makes them famous, and that makes them helping the cause. But what I'm here to say is that these people, this man could not possibly be following the Bible. But even though it says that that's the book that's the only book that they go by. But they couldn't possibly believe in what they're saying if they are truly following the Bible and not taking the Bible and twisting the words to what they want it to say. God would not ever condone violence. He does not condone people being unalived. He doesn't condone them being tortured. He doesn't, none of it. You don't have the right to decide that any black person who is walking down the street and you decide that to be a coward and say we're going to lynch him. If it's right, if it's what you're supposed to do, why don't you be standing there when the police come and tell them what this is my God-given right? Is that so? What you're mixing up, you're putting things that don't even make sense. You're putting them together, and it's just what you're going to pay for. You can't, there is no way that you can take things and turn them around for your own reasons and make it sound acceptable. When God teaches love your brothers and sisters, help one another, feed the hungry, clothe the clothesless, put a roof over the homeless. He never says unless they're of color. He doesn't say unless they don't believe in what you're saying or anything. He doesn't. You want to take what men have written and have put out there and mix it with the Bible, and you can't. You've tried that once. You've done that, and people are uncovering the lies and the deceit, and we know you can't mix them together. They don't go together. If God says that you are going to be punished for every sin that you do not repent from, and turn away from, that's just that. And one of them are, thou shalt not kill. There's no parentheses behind that. There's no cliff notes. There's no nothing. He didn't put or, there's no and, there's nothing. This is what I meant. This is what he meant. This is what he said. And that's that. I wish, I hope his family, are doing well, and, that his wife and kids can get over this and, get better, with time. But people have to be mindful of what we talked about, the power of the tongue. Talked about that and what that will do when you put things out there to harm people or to put people down, or you keep saying that over and over again, trying to impress people that this is right and get other people rallied up. And sometimes people feel like he's dangerous and we can't let him continue to pollute other people. We're going to have a problem. Or it could have been just maybe he was wanting to find out information about something else. We don't know. But your tongue, the power of your tongue is can cause harm. Can cause harm to other people, can cause harm to yourself. I just hope that people, I don't think that the country is really going to see a day where we don't have these issues. We don't have segregation, or we don't have people of different nationalities that aren't Caucasian just treated fair. We're not going to have that's not going to happen. God's main agenda is to return Israel back to their land, he promised that they will be back to their land. That's a spiritual war that Iran and Israel are going through. It has all to do with God's promise to the people, to Abraham and to his people. Unfortunately, it doesn't say that the America or Caucasian people are going to realize that they've been wrong and change everything that they've done and make it fair and equal for everyone. What it does say is if you hold on to him, is the only way that you're going to make it through these trying years or days or weeks or whatever. If you believe and trust in him, if you put all the other things aside and not put yourself, if you don't feel like you're wanted there, you don't have to be there. And I know that sounds like we would be saying we don't deserve what you guys deserve, and I understand because we do. But when you get in the mindset of that these things are not worth it, because your main agenda is to go to heaven. That's what you'll focus on, because there won't be any politics, and there's not going to be any segregation, and there's not going to be any unaliving, lynching. There's not going to be any jails and people thrown in jail just because of the color of their skin, and it's not going to be any of that. That is continuously going to be here. So if you want to be where you don't have to deal with this anymore, your focus should be on the Lord, because he's the only way that you're going to leave all this behind, that you're not going to have to see it anymore, that you're not going to have to worry about every time your son goes out driving if he's going to come back home. You don't have to worry about every time you get stopped by the police, are you going to be that statistic? Or if you go to jail, will you come out alive? And I'm only stating facts. I'm not making up any of that. That's what happens sometimes. We don't want a bunch of martyrs. We've had enough. We've had enough. They don't care. You can have as many as you want, as far as they're concerned. If we don't choose to stop, because obviously punishment doesn't deter anyone from what they've been doing. I know that man who stood his knee on George Floyd's neck probably felt he was going to be okay, because we do this all the time. I think it was his arrogance and his feeling of superiority caused him to overlook, or caused him to treat that man as if he was not even a human being. And then, because we've had dealings with him before, and we know that he, does substance that he's not worth anything anyway. Because, our lives, it doesn't matter what we do. We could be outstanding in biology and come up with whatever. It still doesn't matter. And when you realize that, when you are content with being proud of yourself, when you're content with standing up and clapping your hands for another black person who's making changes and doing great things, when you can believe that your race of people have more than contributed to the growth of building this country, and be satisfied with that, then all the rest doesn't care. We're not, it's not going to matter in the end. You take that pride in that, you take that pride and you take those accolades with you, and you hold them with you. You take that pride and you tell someone else, we're so proud of you, and you've done a great job, and you're so, we are the ones to thank you, thank you for contributing to the betterment of our people. betterment of our community. We feel so low about ourselves that we need to be applauded and have accolades from them? Or does your pride go as far as you don't care who doesn't recognize you, as long as you know who you are, how great you are, how smart you are, how strong you are? Then people wouldn't, it wouldn't even be an issue. Like I said, and it's very hard to ignore people who are, just taunting you and doing all kinds. Very hard. And God knows that. So that's why when you're stepping and you're trying to get further and further, that you have to continuously stay with the Lord. You don't know what's ahead. You don't know it when you take that test that everyone has to take to see who's going to be the top laboratory, who's going to have that laboratory job and be over everybody. We're going to do a test, because they like to give tests, and you do everyone, and not by just a margin. It's the best score that has ever been made, and you feel a little, a little bad because no one comes and pat you on the back or say, congratulations, you have a, but you can walk out of there knowing who you are and what you've done. And knowing that Monday morning, you all will be standing here and listening to what job or where I have you, what laboratory I put you in, and that's how your day's going to start. And you can't say it was affirmative action. It was black action. I just know that this is not going to be the last time that we bring up people who say ignorant things, trying to justify why black people shouldn't be equal. And what we just need to do is just to show them that we are equal. Because what they're thinking is, they're really not. There's some exceptional ones, but they really are equal. They're not as smart as we are. They're not as strong as we are. And don't let them tell you where you belong. That black people only exceed in sports and things like that. We'll give you guys that, because we like to be entertained. So yeah, we'll give you that, basketball and football. And now when you start getting over into now we let you have golf. You slipped in there and you took our golf. Then you slipped in there and took our tennis. Now you're getting a little out of yourself. I guess the only thing left, well, there's quite a few things left. Croquet, hockey. There's a few. We've always had track and field. but these are their ideals. Because when we're built that way because our African ancestors were running in the jungle, and that's how we got so strong, which is ridiculous. But as long as when you can learn to love yourself and believe in yourself and know who you are, all the rest of that doesn't matter. I wouldn't even argue with the man. If Charles Kirk felt that he rather buy a tie from a black woman who has skills to sell ties rather than getting her job through affirmative action, then why didn't you ask her? Why didn't you ask her so that you could find someone else if she did get it through affirmative action, that you could find someone else to buy the tie from? Because first of all, you would have been in trouble. And second of all, that's not what you think about when you go and do that. That just makes it sound more dramatic. Some people make up stuff just to get a reaction from other people, or to, put other people in an uproar, have them confused, have them upset that they're not really paying attention to what the real issue is. Bad does not weigh out good in God's eyes. It never will. You can get away with whatever for so long, but sometimes it's time, when it's time for you to pay that price, or to live it like you speak it. Sometimes things happen. So that's why I said your tongue, the power of your tongue holds a lot of things that can either make you or break you, whatever, however you choose to do that. I don't worry about Trump, that he's been in trouble and convicted and whatever else, because like I said, he doesn't run the world. He can't destroy the world. He can't do anything, because God, it belongs to God. And before God will let him do that, he will come and let him know who really runs the world. Not any of the other presidents, Putin, not Kim, I can't think of the other ones, not Trump, not any of them. You get good press conferences. You got shaking hands and having nice suits on, and meeting on the lawn at the meeting on the White House lawn, and making people think that we're getting it together and things are getting better, when we know they're not. People just hold on to God. Don't be afraid that we are going to live like the people, the war movie, the movies where something happens and we are all trying to find food and running around, and we're living in squalor, and that's not going to happen, because God didn't say it. He did say trouble is ahead. To be prepared for that. to stand your ground, to be fully grounded with Jesus and God is the only way that you're going to survive. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. That's the only way that you're going to feel safe. It's the only way that you're not going to be afraid. It's the only way. I say it every time because it's true. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to be somewhere where all this is just behind, is gone. And I hope that the people that are still not quite there yet, you still have time. You woke up this morning. I can't guarantee you another hour or 15 minutes. I can't guarantee you tonight or tomorrow morning. But you woke up this morning, and so you still have a chance. I continuously thank you guys for supporting me and my channel. I can't remember what upload is this. We're getting close to 90. I believe I believe we should be at 100 by the end of the month or the beginning of next month. And then we'll finish off with winning a Cash App. I don't know. I kind of feel all kinds of I kind of feel emotional and upset all at the same time, because when I start to think about my people, I always go back to, when our lives really didn't count, when people weren't ever put in jail for anything they did to us and got away with everything. But those days are coming to an end, and I hope you can trust and believe in that. And until the next time.